Hi everyone, this is Tuplex. Welcome back. Sub count's up to 515 as of this recording. The reason I'm going to keep track of this, besides just vanity or pure informational purposes, is that I've decided to make the goal of this series to launch one rocket per subscriber. So this number will serve as a reminder of our goal for the number of rockets we need to launch. So we've got a long way to go, but I think it's getting 500 or 1,000 rockets launched. I think is a pretty realistic goal. In the last megabase I did, which was in marathon mode, I think we ended up launching 400 and something before the end, and that was with one rocket every 2 minutes. So at one a minute, I think this is a pretty good goal to shoot for, and it serves as a way for us to kind of mark what the end point of this particular series will be. So let's get to work. I had a really good suggestion in the comments. Let me check who that was. Sorry, I just want to check who the comment was from. Forget the name now. It was from Jan van Eickels. I hope I pronounced your name correctly, but thanks, Jan, for the suggestion. His suggestion was, why not just turn the steam on when the steam at the nuclear plant falls below a certain level. And I think that's a very good idea. So I'd like to implement that. Unfortunately, I've disconnected the signal from over there. So let's head over to the nuclear plant and reconnect the line for steam. So what we'll do here is, rather than have an accumulator there and watch the charge on the accumulator, we can just look at the steam directly. And I think this will work pretty well because, the steam almost acts like an accumulator itself. We bank steam so that when we have, I put an indicator for steam storage percentage here, by the way. So what happens is, we store the steam while we're making extra electricity, much in the way that we store power in an accumulator when we have extra. And then when our demand increases, we draw the steam out, much in the same way that we draw from the accumulator charge when our production, or when our demand exceeds our production capacity. And then up here, I put a display to show what our percentage of capacity is. So right now it's at 46%. And what I did there, it's hard to see it, it's somewhat hidden, but there's an arithmetic combinator here. So all it does is it takes the input and divides by 250. And that's because a steam tank holds 25,000. And I should mention that the other change that I made is that I'm only reading the contents of one steam tank rather than all of them. One steam tank holds 25,000. And this was the result of another comment as well. And I'm sorry I didn't write the names down. I'll do that next time so I can give credit where it's due. But the other suggestion was that rather than wire up every single tank, just monitor the output or the contents of one tank, because they all balance with one another anyway. And since they all will have approximately the same amount, there's no reason to add them all together. You can just monitor one. So since one tank holds 25,000, I'm keeping an eye on that one. And then to get a percentage, what I want to do is take the actual steam content. I want to divide it by 25,000 to get the decimal percentage. and then multiply by 100 to get the actual percentage. So I guess dividing by 25,000 would give you the fraction, and then multiply by 100 to get percentage. So rather than do that in 2 steps, I just divide by 250, which is 25,000 divided by 100, and then I output that here. So right now we have 51%, in other words. Okay, so all I need to do to make that work is I'll hook the green wire up to this as well. All right, so now I also have a green signal with the steam tank contents. And then we can go back over to our steam power, or at least our coal-fired steam power. And we can tell it to turn the water pumps on when the steam falls below a certain percentage. So let's make that 20%. 20% of 25,000 is what, 5,000? I think that's right. And hopefully I didn't break the connection. Yeah, I can see the signal here. 12,000. Good. Okay, so now we can get rid of that accumulator. And then we just need to wire in the green signal. And now we'll tell it if it's less than 5,000, then we have a red condition. And remember that the red condition is when we turn the pumps on. And if it's greater or equal to 5,000, steam, not A, then we have a green condition, which means that we have enough and the pumps are turned off. Right? Because the pumps only turn on when we have a red condition. Okay. So cool. And now we don't have to use an accumulator. So that's, I think that's a nice, quick and easy solution. So appreciate that. Thank you. All right. So what I want to do today, if we go back to our to-do list, is work on the rocket control units, the low density structures, and the satellite, so that we can start to launch some rockets from our rocket base, which is otherwise pretty much ready to go. And I've been doing some calculations. You know, I mean, eventually the rocket control units and the low density structures are going to be receiving trains from different areas with the ingredients that they need to be produced. Excuse me. So low density structures need steel, copper, and plastic. And rocket control units need speed module 1s and processing units, otherwise known as blue circuits. So eventually we'll have a smelting area where we're doing copper plates. We're going to have a smelting area, you know, which is fed by train. That's making iron plates. We'll have one for steel. We're going to have a train outpost that's making plastic, et cetera, et cetera. But until then, just to do occasional rocket launches, I'm just going to use one of these train stations in the base. So we'll use this one that is currently set up for stone. And what I'm going to do is remove these inserters, and I'm going to add a train that we will use specifically to take, on a temporary basis, to take materials over to the rocket base, or to the low density structure area, to the rocket control unit area, and well, and also to the to the rocket base for the satellite parts. Okay, and again, this is just temporary until we have dedicated outposts for all of those things already set up. So what I'm going to do is, actually let me remove, I'm just going to remove all these inserters. Actually, we can take all this out too for now. And I'm just doing this because I don't anticipate needing to bring stone into the main base anytime soon. Okay, and then we can get rid of these wooden chests as well. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace these with requester chests for the items that we need. All right, so I'll just put a few requester chests in there. Looks like we need a roboport to get coverage in this area. So let's do that. So I'll just go ahead and put one there. And looks like we need one right here as well. So let's remove some of this belt. There we go. Oh, we need power. There. Okay, so I've done some calculations, and since we have productivity module 3s in the rocket silo, that means that we're going to need, for every rocket, we're going to need 714 rocket part production cycles on the rocket silo. So, or not 714, we're going to need 71.4. The reason for that is that to launch a rocket, you need to make 100 rocket parts in the rocket silo. And one rocket part takes 10 of each of the rocket fuel, low density structures, and rocket control units. So with the productivity bonus, we need to run 71 or 72 cycles. I'm not sure exactly which. My calculation gives me 71.4, so maybe it's 71.2. So that means that we're going to need about 714 of each of the components of the rocket parts. And then we're going to be using productivity modules in the production of the rocket parts as well. Okay, so if we look at our rocket fuel, for example, these are all loaded with productivity 3s. So we're getting 40% production bonus on all of these, and then we're also going to be getting a 40% production bonus on the rocket parts themselves. So rocket fuel, for example, we're going to need, I came up with 764. I don't think that's right. I'm going to have to recheck my calculation for the rocket fuel. Well, I can do that right now, actually. Because we're going to need, yeah, so if we need 714 rocket fuel to launch the rocket, and if we divide that by 1.4 to reflect the productivity bonus, that means we're going to need 510 rocket fuel just to launch the rocket. And then we also need 50 rocket fuel for the satellite. So that means we're going to need 560 rocket fuel for every rocket launch that we do. Where did 764 come from? Oh, okay, I know where it came from. Yeah, we actually do need 764 rocket fuel. Okay, I apologize. I hope I'm not confusing you guys. All right, and we have rocket fuel right here. Although it's going this way. So what I can do is for the rocket fuel, I can just pull that off the belt and load that into some chests. Okay, so let's put a couple of stack inserters. Yeah, 764 rocket fuel, since these stack in 10s only. So that's 100, 200, 300, 400, 480 in each chest. So we'll need 2 chests. So we'll just fill up those chests with rocket fuel. And then in our train, we're going to need... Now each train will hold 400. Actually, you know what? Why am I doing this? I can just get rocket fuel from... I can just get rocket fuel from the rocket fuel station. I'm going to have a dedicated train for rocket fuel. Whoops, let's do that. There we go. And then I'm just going to keep 1 stack for my car. All right, so now I have to get rid of this rocket fuel, which is why I'm setting this up. All right. So, yeah, so we don't need this. I can clear all this. Since we already have a rocket fuel producing station, we can just have a dedicated train for the rocket fuel going to the rocket base. Which in fact we have already set up. So, all right, so for rocket control units, we're going to have to do 510 production cycles of rocket control units in order to get the 714 rocket control units that we need. That's taking into account the productivity modules that we're going to have in the machines that are actually making the rocket units. The rocket control units. Hopefully that makes sense. So for that, we're going to need 510 blue circuits. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start requesting these items so that we can begin to accumulate those. All right, so 510 blue circuits. We're going to need 2,550 red circuits. And we're going to need 2,550 green circuits. So that's to make the speed modules and the blue circuits that we need for the rocket control units. Question is, will that be able to all fit in a single train? So 100 processing units, so we're going to need 6 slots. And then green circuits and red circuits, I think, stack in 200s. Yeah. So that means we're going to need 10, 12 slots each of green and red circuits. That's 10, 11, 12. 12 times 200, no. 13 times 200 is enough. Actually, let me reconfigure this. Oops. Okay, so we'll round that up to 2600, so we're going to need 13 slots. So that's 10, 11, 12. All right, so that's 13 slots of red circuits, and then we'll need 13 slots of green circuits as well. That's 10, 11, 12, 13. And then we can close it off like that. Okay, so green circuits, it seems, are not being added to the circuit network, so let's go fix that. And what we can do is just add a provider chest up here. We'll put a stack inserter. And I'm going to limit this to one stack over here. And then over time, it's going to take these over to the train station to be put into the chest. Okay, and I've already done that for red and blue circuits, right? I have a chest there for the red circuits. And then I have one for the blue circuits. The blue circuits is what is going to take a while. Okay, and then we can just put stack inserters there. And these will start to fill up. All right, so this car is for the rocket control units. And then for the low density structures, we need a lot more stuff. We're going to need 2910 copper plates. So we can round that up to 3,000. That means we're going to need 30 slots of copper plates. And I'm doing this just by using the middle mouse button. All right, so let's, we'll call this one the copper plate. The copper plate train. And then we're going to need 2910 plastic. I'm not sure what the stack size of plastic is. I think that's also 200. Let's take a look. No, 100. All right, so 2,910. That means we're going to need 29 slots of plastic. We'll run that up to 30 slots of plastic. So that's basically the same as the copper. And here I'm just using the shift right click, shift left click to copy paste. Oops. I guess I don't really need to filter on these since since we're only putting single items in. But we'll do that anyway. That'll just make it easy to remember which car has what item. And then finally, we're going to need 5,820 steel. So in this case, we're going to need more than one cargo wagon. We can fit 4,000 steel in that one, and then we can fill out the rest over here. This will give us another 1,000. So that's 4,000, that's 5,000. Yeah, and then we'll need to add steel to this one as well. Okay, so each of these is going to have to hold steel. Okay, so that's going to take a little while to fill up. just because we're filling the chests off belts. But remember, we're only shooting to have about 45 space science per minute. And in order to do that, since we get 1,000 every rocket launch, that means as long as we launch a rocket every 22 minutes, we'll be able to keep our science running pretty much nonstop, with the current setup, which is not very fast, but 22 minutes should be more than enough time to get this train filled up. Okay, this one's doing nicely, except for the red circuits, it seems, are running a little bit slow. Now, why isn't this... Let's see, those are called advanced circuits, and it says we have 200. Oh, I know where they are. That's because we have some in our buffer chest, so it's not adding any new ones. All right, so let's tell this to request from buffer chests. Yeah, and actually, we can make these just single stacks on the request side. We don't need to fill up the whole chest. Yeah, let's make that 200. One stack is 200. Okay, I'm going to have to do this as well. Request from buffer chest. The reason is that I have buffer chests over here where I have some of these items being accumulated, and since my chest over here, for example, is saying to insert into the chest as long as I have less than 200 in the network, the items in the buffer chests count as items in the network, so I have to make sure that I'm able to use those items from here as well. So I'll tell all these to request from buffer chests. Oh, okay, that one is not needed. There we go. Okay, so that's set up. And then what we'll do is we'll just send this train to the 2 outposts to unload those items and then come back to get refilled. Okay, so speaking of those outposts, that's what I really wanted to get to today, but we've already run long on time, so we will get to that in the next episode, where we're going to set up dedicated train outposts to make the rocket control units and the low density structures, and then we'll start getting to a rocket launch. So we'll get to that next. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.